People walked past him like he didn't exist. Some slowed down, looked at him with awkward glances, and quickly moved on. He didn't beg, didn't ask for help, just sat quietly on that worn wooden bench outside the old train station with his face buried in his hands. A well-dressed man, clearly not homeless, with shoes that cost more than what some people make in a week, yet he cried like he had lost everything. And perhaps, in a way, he had. But then, she came. She wasn't anyone famous. Not rich. Not particularly known. Just a regular young woman. A schoolteacher named Lena Whitmore. She had every reason to rush past him too. She was late for her evening bus, had papers to grade, and was carrying grocery bags from a discount store after already working 2 shifts. But something in her heart told her to stop. So, she did. She didn't know that her small decision, to simply sit beside a stranger and ask, "Are you okay?" would change her entire life. It had been one of those exhausting days for Lena. She was already juggling too many things, substitute teaching during the day, tutoring kids in the evening, and looking after her aging grandmother at night. Lena had dreams once. She wanted to be a writer, maybe even travel the world, but life had other plans. Rent, bills, medications, and responsibilities kept her grounded in a small corner of a big city. She was about to catch the 6:35 bus when she saw him. The old man on the bench. He wore a gray woolen coat, one side slightly wrinkled like he'd been leaning against a wall for hours. His silver hair was well combed but damp from the light drizzle. His shoulders trembled, not from cold, but from the heaviness of silent sobs. Lena stood still. People walked around her. The world kept moving. But she felt it. That pull. That sense that something wasn't right. So, she walked over, placed her plastic grocery bag gently on the ground, and sat beside him. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, "Sir, do you need someone to talk to?" The old man slowly lifted his face, eyes bloodshot, cheeks streaked with tears. He looked startled, almost confused by her presence. Why would you ask that?" he whispered hoarsely. She shrugged, "Because I think you need someone. And I'm here." He stared at her, blinking. "No one's asked me that in years," he said. Not genuinely, anyway. They sat in silence for a moment. Lena didn't ask for his name or story. She just sat, waiting, holding the silence like a gentle friend. Eventually, he spoke. "My name is Thomas Grayson," he said. "I used to be someone important. A name people chased. Today, I sat in 3 places and cried, and not one person stopped." Lena didn't flinch. "Well, I don't know you, Mr. Grayson. But right now, you're a person in pain. And I think everyone deserves to be heard." That broke something in him. Over the next hour, Lena listened. Not the kind of passive listening people do while scrolling their phones, but real, intentional listening. The kind that feels rare these days. Thomas Grayson shared pieces of his story. How, 40 years ago, he started a small tech company in his garage. How he built it up from nothing, through failures, betrayals, long nights, and countless rejections, until it became Grayson Innovations, a billion-dollar company with clients across the globe. He was once on magazine covers, invited to speak at universities, praised for his rags-to-riches journey. But somewhere along the way, he said, "I forgot how to be human." Lena frowned. "What do you mean?" I was too busy being a visionary, Thomas said bitterly. I missed birthdays, anniversaries. I pushed away friends. I divorced the only woman who loved me because she said I wasn't present anymore. Even my son. I haven't spoken to him in years. I kept choosing my business over everything else. And then, softly. Today is the 10th anniversary of my wife's death. And I realized. I have no one to share my regrets with. No one. Lena felt a lump in her throat. She reached out and gently placed her hand on his. You have me. Right now, you have someone. He looked at her like she'd just given him gold. The rain stopped. The evening chill settled in. Lena offered him her scarf, and they continued talking. Thomas asked about her life, and she shared her own struggles, how she sacrificed her dreams for her grandmother, how she taught inner-city kids who came to school without lunches, how sometimes she wondered if kindness was even worth it anymore in a world so consumed with self-interest. Thomas listened, genuinely listened, for the first time in years. Before parting ways, he said, "You have no idea how much this meant to me. You gave me something I didn't even know I still needed, hope." He reached into his coat, scribbled something on a small card, and handed it to her. "If you ever find yourself needing something, anything, use this," he said. "No promises, but maybe it'll help." She tucked it into her pocket, not thinking much of it. Weeks passed. Lena almost forgot about the card. Life returned to its usual chaos: school, bills, caregiving. One day, her school principal called her into the office with an envelope. Inside was a formal invitation to speak at an educational summit in another city, expenses paid. The invitation was signed by the Grayson Foundation. She gasped. At first, she thought it was a mistake. But attached was a personal letter. "Dear Lena. That day on the bench changed my life. You reminded me what mattered. I made a call and asked my foundation to fund someone who embodies compassion and service. That person is you. I hope you accept this small gesture, not as charity, but as acknowledgement. Thomas." Lena couldn't believe it. That summit changed her life. She was introduced to people who saw her passion and offered her opportunities to develop programs for underprivileged students. Within a year, she helped start a nonprofit dedicated to mental health and kindness in public schools, fully funded by the Grayson Foundation. But the most emotional moment came a year later. She was invited to the foundation's annual gala as a guest of honor. As she entered the grand hall, Thomas stood at the center, no longer the weeping man on a bench, but a restored man surrounded by life, purpose, and people who now mattered. When he saw her, he walked over slowly and hugged her. "You didn't just sit beside a crying old man," he whispered, "you saved him." She smiled, holding back tears. "And you reminded me that kindness still matters." A reporter approached Lena at the gala. "Ms. Whitmore, what inspired all of this?" "The foundation work, the programs, your success." She glanced across the room at Thomas, then back to the reporter. "I sat beside someone society ignored," she said. "And learned that the smallest act of kindness can change not just one life, but two. You never know who you're sitting next to." In a world that's too busy, too distracted, too digital, sometimes all it takes is a moment of human connection to spark something extraordinary. Be that person who sits down. Be the one who sees. You might just change someone's life, and your own in the process.